October 14th, 1943. 28,000 feet above central Germany. The air is thin, brittle, and painfully cold. Frost crawls across the inside of the cockpit glass as the B-17 Flying Fortress drones forward in tight formation, its four Wright Cyclone engines vibrating through aluminum ribs and bone alike. Below, a gray quilt of cloud breaks open to reveal rivers, rail yards, and factory towns, names the crew has studied on maps for weeks. Schweinfurt. Again. Inside the bomber, nothing smells clean. Oil, sweat, heated metal, and cordite from yesterday's mission cling to every surface. The men have stopped talking. They listen, instead, to the engines, to the intercom, to the thin hiss of oxygen flowing through rubber masks. Off the left wing, dozens of bombers hold position, silver shapes against a pale autumn sky. Beyond them, farther out, dark specks move with purpose. German fighters. In a Messerschmitt Bf-109, climbing hard from the east, Oberleutnant Franz Keller watches the American formation through his gun sight. He's 26, already a veteran of the Battle of Britain and the Eastern Front. His jaw tightens, not with fear, but with calculation. "They're early today," his wingman says over the radio. Keller doesn't answer. He already knows what matters more: the escorts. He scans the edges of the formation. There they are, American fighters, small and fast, weaving back and forth like nervous sheepdogs. P-47 Thunderbolts, big, heavy, thirsty machines. Keller allows himself a thin smile. "They won't stay," he mutters. Everyone in the Luftwaffe knows the rule. The American fighters can only escort the bombers so far. Their fuel limits are fixed, predictable. Once they hit that invisible line in the sky, they have to turn back, leaving the bombers naked for the long, bloody run home. It had worked before. It always works. He keys his radio. Hold position. Let them come deeper. Across the bomber formation, the escorts begin to peel away, just as Keller expected. One by one, the Thunderbolts rock their wings and turn west, engines roaring as they head back toward friendly airspace. Inside the B-17, Lieutenant James Collins watches them go. "Escorts turning back," the radio operator calls out. No one responds. They all feel it, the sudden emptiness, like a door closing. This is the moment the Germans wait for. At 28,000 feet, flak begins to bloom. Black bursts punch holes in the sky, rocking the bomber violently. Shrapnel rattles against the fuselage like handfuls of gravel thrown by an angry god. "Flak at 3 o'clock, the waist gunner shouts. Then the fighters come. Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs slash through the formation in disciplined waves, cannons flashing. Tracer rounds streak past the cockpit, bright and terrifyingly slow. A bomber 2 positions down takes a direct hit. Its wing folds. The aircraft drops out of formation, spinning, trailing fire. No parachutes. Keller dives through the chaos, firing a controlled burst into a bomber's nose. He pulls up, climbs, circles. This is familiar. This is where the Americans break. The bomber formation presses on, deeper into Germany, despite the losses. That alone irritates Keller. They should be turning back by now. He climbs again, throttling forward, the Daimler-Benz engine howling as he regains altitude. Around him, other Luftwaffe fighters regroup, forming up for another pass. Discipline is everything now. Hit hard, hit fast, then climb away before the gunners untrack. "Second wave, follow me," Keller orders. They dive together, sunlight flashing off wings and canopies. The bombers fill his windscreen, huge, slow, impossibly stubborn. Keller squeezes the trigger. His 20mm cannon spits fire. Pieces tear from a B-17's fuselage. Smoke pours from one engine, but the aircraft stays in formation. "Why won't you die?" he growls. Inside that bomber, Red Collins feels the aircraft shudder. Warning lights flicker. The engineer shouts over the intercom, voice tight but controlled. "Number 3 engine losing oil pressure. Feather it, keep her in formation." They do, somehow. Minutes stretch into an hour. The bomb run begins. Bomb bay doors open, turning the aircraft into fragile, drag-heavy targets. The bombardier counts down, voice steady despite the chaos. 10 seconds. 5. Bombs away. The aircraft lurches upward as its payload drops. Below, Schweinfurt's factories vanish beneath clouds and smoke. Now comes the part everyone fears most, the flight home. Keller circles again, preparing for the kill that always comes after the bomber's turn. He checks his fuel. Plenty left. He looks west and freezes. Small shapes glint in the distance. Not thunderbolts, different silhouettes, slimmer, longer wings. "What the hell is that?" his wingman asks. They grow larger fast, engines screaming with a sharper, higher pitch. The fighters slice through the sky with unnerving confidence, sliding into position above the bombers like they belong there. One flashes past Keller's canopy, close enough that he sees the white star on his fuselage. "Mustangs!" someone shouts over the radio. "American Mustangs!" Keller's stomach tightens. The P-51 Mustang was supposed to be irrelevant, an experiment, too few, unproven. But these aircraft are not turning back. They are not circling defensively. They are pushing forward, aggressively, challenging Luftwaffe fighters head-on. And they are still here. Inside Red Collins' cockpit, disbelief turns into something else. Relief. "New escorts," the radio operator yells. "They're staying with us." Outside, the Mustangs waste no time. They dive into the German formations with precision and fury, cutting through interceptors before they can line up attacks. Their speed is shocking, their range unthinkable. Keller pulls hard on the stick as a Mustang drops onto his tail. Tracers flash past his canopy. He jinks left, then right, engines screaming in protest. "They're not leaving," he shouts. "They're escorting all the way." The rules have changed, and everyone can feel it. The sky dissolves into individual duels now, no longer coordinated attacks against helpless bombers, but chaotic fights against fighters that refuse to disengage. Keller rolls, dives, climbs, but the Mustang stays with him, matching every move. These Americans aren't protecting the bombers anymore. They're hunting. Keller brakes hard and dives for cloud cover. The Mustang follows him down, firing in short, disciplined bursts. Keller feels rounds strike his wing. Warning lights flash. His engine sputters. He barely makes it through the clouds and pulls up low, racing east toward friendly territory. Behind him, bombers fly on, still in formation, still protected. Back in the B-17, the gunners fall silent, stunned. They watch Mustangs wheel and dive around them like guardian angels, driving German fighters away instead of merely fending them off. Red Collins exhales for the first time in hours. "They didn't turn back," he whispers. For the Luftwaffe, the realization spreads like ice water down the spine. Reports flood command channels. Escorts present beyond expected range. Bombers unbroken. Losses mounting. The invisible line in the sky, the one German pilots had relied on for years, no longer exists. And for the first time, Keller understands something he never allowed himself to consider. The bombers might not stop coming. Later that same afternoon, Luftwaffe airfields across central Germany. Keller's Messerschmitt skids onto the runway harder than intended. The tires screech. The aircraft swerves before he wrestles it straight, engine coughing as he cuts the throttle. Ground crewmen rush toward him, already seeing the oil streaks along the wing and fuselage. He doesn't wait for them. Keller climbs out of the cockpit, rips off his oxygen mask, and pulls his helmet free. His hands are shaking, not from fear, but from anger. Around him, other fighters land one by one. Some limp in, trailing smoke. Some don't return at all. Inside the briefing hut, the mood is wrong. No laughter. No cigarette smoke drifting lazily toward the ceiling. Men speak in low voices, faces pale, eyes fixed on the map board at the front of the room. Red grease pencil lines mark bomber routes, deep, cutting scars across Germany. A staff officer clears his throat. "The Americans maintained escort coverage beyond Schweinfurt," he says carefully. "Fighter opposition was persistent." Persistent. Keller almost laughs. Instead, he steps forward. They didn't break off. Not at the line, not after the bomb run. They stayed with the bombers the entire way back. A murmur ripples through the room. "That's impossible," someone mutters. Their fighters don't have the range. Keller turns on him. They do now. At higher command levels, the reports pile up. Intercepts that never materialized, bomber formations that stayed intact, German fighters caught climbing or reforming and torn apart by escort fighters that should not have been there. The name appears again and again in after-action reports. P-51 Mustang. Designed originally with British help, powered now by the Rolls-Royce Merlin, the Mustang is everything the Thunderbolt is not. Slim, efficient, fast at altitude, and most importantly, able to fly deep into Germany and still have fuel to fight. For months, Luftwaffe planners dismissed it as a niche aircraft, too few to matter, not a real threat. Now, it is everywhere. The next missions confirm it. Berlin, Leipzig, Regensburg. Escorts do not peel away. They do not signal and turn back. They stay, sometimes flying ahead of the bombers, sometimes diving down to strafe airfields, forcing German fighters to take off under fire. The old rhythm is gone. For American crews, the change is just as dramatic. On bases in England, bomber crews notice it immediately. The tension before missions is still there. Fear never disappears, but something fundamental has shifted. When the Mustangs appear over the channel and slide into position, men feel it in their chests. They might make it home. Red Collins watches a Mustang pilot rock his wings in greeting as they cross into enemy airspace. The fighter's canopy gleams in the sun. It feels confident. Over Germany, flak still explodes. Bombers still fall. But now, when German fighters approach, they don't come in neat, confident waves. They hesitate. They break off early. They are forced into defensive spirals by escorts that refuse to disengage. The kill ratio begins to tilt. For the Luftwaffe, the consequences are immediate and brutal. Veteran pilots, men like Keller, are no longer hunting slow, predictable bombers. They are fighting skilled enemy fighters with numerical advantage and superior fuel reserves. Every loss hurts more than the last. Replacement pilots arrive with fewer hours, less training, and almost no combat experience. They face Mustangs flown by Americans who rotate home, rest, and return seasoned by dozens of missions. Keller survives another month, then another. But each time he climbs, he knows the truth. The Americans are not testing anymore. They are committing. And the escort that once politely turned back has become a constant presence, an armed shadow that follows the bombers wherever they go. High above Germany, the air war has crossed the line it cannot uncross.
January 11th, 1944. 30,000 feet above Oschersleben, Germany. The cold is savage, even by bomber standards. Frost creeps along the oxygen lines. Breath freezes inside masks. The sky is a hard, merciless blue. Perfect flying weather. Perfect killing weather. Red Collins grips the control yoke as the bomber formation levels off. Ahead lies Oschersleben, home to Bearcraft factories feeding the Luftwaffe's dwindling strength. The target matters. Everyone knows it. What matters more is what surrounds them. Mustangs. Not dozens, hundreds. They range far ahead of the bombers now, aggressive and predatory, diving down to intercept German fighters before they can even form up. For the first time, American escorts aren't reacting. They're controlling the air. At a Luftwaffe base east of the target, Keller watches from the edge of the runway as ground crews scramble fighters. Engines cough to life. Pilots run, some without helmets properly fastened, some with eyes wide in a way Keller recognizes. Fear. He straps in and launches with the others, climbing hard into the thinning air. Radar warnings crackle through headsets. The Americans are already overhead. As Keller crests through 25,000 feet, he sees them. Mustangs everywhere. They are not guarding bombers anymore. They are sweeping the sky clean. A pair dives on his formation without warning. Tracers slash through the air. One German fighter explodes before Keller can even turn toward the threat. Another spirals down, streaming smoke. "This is madness," someone shouts.
Keller pulls into a climbing turn, trying to gain altitude, only to realize the Americans already have it. A Mustang flashes past his nose, close enough for him to see the pilot's goggles and clenched jaw. The fight is brief and merciless. German formations break apart under pressure. Radios fill with panicked calls. Commands overlap. There is no time to regroup, no safe altitude to climb to. For the bombers, it feels unreal. They fly straight and level, bomb bay doors opening over Aschersleben, while below them the air battle rages like a storm. Bombs fall, factories vanish beneath smoke and flame. On the way out, flak still reaches up, but the fighters don't. The Mustangs stay. They follow the bombers all the way back to the western edge of Germany and beyond. Some even cross into France, strafing airfields, destroying aircraft before they can be used. By the time Keller lands, shaken and silent, the truth is undeniable. The Luftwaffe has lost control of the daylight sky. In command offices across Germany, senior officers stare at maps and casualty lists that make no sense. Losses are unsustainable. Veteran pilots are dying faster than they can be replaced. Fuel shortages worsen. Training hours are cut again and again. The bombers do not slow. They accelerate. Every week, formations grow larger. Every month, escort coverage tightens. German factories are hit repeatedly, methodically, without pause. For Red Collins, the missions blur together. Flak, bomb runs, long returns, but one thing remains constant. The escorts never leave. The joke that once circulated among German pilots that Americans would always turn back has vanished. No one laughs anymore. Keller sits alone in the mess one evening, staring at a cup of untouched coffee. He thinks about how the war felt at the beginning, how predictable it all seemed. Now, the sky belongs to someone else, and the bombers are coming back again tomorrow.
March 6, 1944. Dawn over southern England. The airfield wakes before the sun. Floodlights cut through mist as engines are pulled through, propellers ticking in the cold. Bombers line the runway in rows so long they disappear into fog. Ground crews move with practiced speed, checking fuel caps, loading ammunition, securing bomb shackles. Red Collins stands beneath the wing of his B-17, coffee steaming in his hands. He watches Mustangs taxi past, their Merlin engines humming with a confidence that feels new, almost casual. Berlin. The word hangs over the base like a challenge. This isn't a test anymore, it's a statement. At altitude, the bomber stream stretches for miles. Sunlight catches aluminum skin, turning the formation into a moving wall of light. When the Mustangs arrive, they don't slide into position quietly. They surge forward, high cover, low cover, forward sweeps. They aren't waiting for German fighters. They are daring them. Inside Germany, Keller listens to the briefing with a knot in his stomach. The target is Berlin itself. Once that would have been unthinkable. Now it feels inevitable. Our job is to disrupt, the officer says. Not stop, disrupt. Keller understands what that means. He climbs with his unit into a sky already crowded with contrails. Almost immediately, radar warnings crackle. The Americans are ahead of schedule. Again. They meet Mustangs before they even see the bombers. The fight is short, brutal, one-sided. Keller fires once, twice, then brakes as two escorts drop onto his tail. He dives, skimming cloud tops, heart pounding as tracers rip past. When he finally escapes, he climbs just enough to see it. Bombers. Still intact. Still coming. Over Berlin, flak is intense, denser than anything Red Collins has ever seen. The bomber shudders violently. A shell detonates close enough to rip a hole through the fuselage. The tail gunner screams, then goes silent. Yet the formation holds. Bombs fall through smoke and fire onto the heart of the Reich, and when the bombers turn west,
They are not alone. Mustangs remain above them, below them, beside them. German fighters that attempt pursuit are intercepted almost immediately. Some never reach firing range. By the time Red Colin sees the English coast again, exhaustion crashes over him like a wave, but beneath it is something else. Certainty. This war in the air has turned. For Keller, the realization comes more slowly and far more painfully. Weeks pass. Losses continue. Fuel runs short. Friends vanished from the mess, from the flight line, from the sky. One afternoon, he watches a group of new pilots climb into fighters. Boys, really. He knows what will happen to them. The Americans will still be there. The escorts will not turn back, and the bombers will keep coming. The idea that once sustained the Luftwaffe, that endurance, skill, and courage could overcome numbers, has collapsed under the weight of reality. In the end, it wasn't one battle or one aircraft. It was the moment the bombers stopped turning back.